Hello, welcome to Challenge JP. My name is Jacek, and today I want to show you how to use Python to combine CSV or other data files. Okay, well, before you start working on Python, you actually have to make sure that you have Python installed on your computer. What I would recommend is to head to Anaconda's website. It's a great open source software. Individual edition is completely free. Just head to the website, scroll to the bottom. You will see Anaconda installers, and then choose the appropriate file for your system. Okay, this is what you should see when you open your notebook. Let's name the file first. So you should just scroll over the section that says untitled, and let's type data file consolidation as our title. All right, and we're ready to start working on our first Python script. Let's type and execute our first comment. So I'll just type in print hello world. And if you want to execute a command, you just have to hit Shift and Enter. And if I do that, you'll see that below my comment, there's an output which says hello world. So it's pretty straightforward, right? There's the first part, which is the comment part. It says print. Then you have your parentheses. In front of parentheses, you tell Python what you want to print. Hit Shift and Enter, and you get an output. While we're proceeding with the code, I will be giving you a few suggestions as to how you can keep your code clean. So one thing that you can do is to add a comment after your comment. You can do it above the comment, you can do it to the right, you can do it below that. So let's say what I can do, if I start with a hash sign, I can just type in your first Python comment, okay? And what this does, it's the part of the script that's not executable. It's only for you to make sure that you keep track of your code and you understand what's happening with your code. Okay, let's go to our next box. And now what we want to do, we want to import our first module. So think of Python as sort of a basic programming language, and then you have extended functionalities that come with modules. Right? One of the most popular module in Python is Pandas. So I'll just type in import Pandas to import it. And then I will add SPD. And what this SPD stands for, it basically assigns a shortcut to that module. So in a few steps, you'll see that I'm using PD in front of the function. That means that it's a Panda function, right? Let's hit Shift and Enter. And now we're ready to load our first file. So the function to load my CSV file is read CSV. It's the Pandas function. So I will start with PD using the shortcut that I defined before, and then write read underscore CSV. And then I need to open parentheses. All my functions will have parentheses after them. And in those parentheses, this is where I'm going to insert my arguments. Okay, so there are two things I need to put in that inside of those parentheses. First of all, I need to define where my file will come from and what is the name of the file. And so let's do that. Okay, so what I've just pasted in is the address of the folder of the directory where I hold my files. And then I will put a comma, and then I will add sep equals semicolon. Okay, what that sep means, that's basically a separator. So it tells Python that all the columns in the CSV file are separated by a semicolon. Okay, so that's the function that I will use to read the file. Let's hit Shift and Enter. Okay, and you see that below that it displays the file already. Okay, so my file has two columns, full name and birthday. Okay, perfect. So now what we want to do, we want to just do one more thing. We want to assign the content of the file to a variable. So in our case, what I will do, I'll go back to our comment in here, and I will insert data _1 equals, and then the rest of the comment. Now the data _1, that's my custom name, so you can name it however you want, but it's always good to name your variables so that it sort of makes sense. So when you have to refer to them in the future, they're quite descriptive as well. If I now hit Shift and Enter, you will see that my table disappeared. Okay, now what we want to do, every time you load data into a variable, it's a good idea to inspect it. And the way to do it is to simply look at the first few rows of our data. So to do that, I'll just type in data _1, and then I'll add head and then open and close parentheses. Okay, hit Shift and Enter. So that's how we execute our command, Shift and Enter. And then you will see the first 5 rows of our data1 variable. Okay, so again, it's a full name and birthday because that's how our CSV file is structured. Now, what you will also see to the left is that 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's an index column. So it actually wasn't part of the CSV file. Think of the index column as unique reference to each of the rows. In the same way that in Excel spreadsheet, you would see unique numbers next to the rows and then unique letters above the columns. Okay, I have 2 more data files to load. By the way, if you want to download the files that I'm using in this tutorial, just head to the description of this video and you will see there a link to my blog. You can download all the files from there. There's also a text description of today's tutorial and also quite a few external references if you want to find out more about the functions and other part of Python script that we'll be talking about in this tutorial. Okay, so I want to create data2 variable and assign the content of my other file to it. I will recycle part of that code from before because it will be exactly the same code except that instead of file 1, I'll be using data file 2 name, and I will do the same. So if I just hit enter without hitting a shift, it will just add another line to my script. And then I need to just change that to data free and file free. Okay, Shift and enter. And if I now inspect my data2 variable, I will see first 5 rows, with the same structure as data1. Same thing with data 3. Yeah, we have it here. Okay, perfect. So that works fine. So we know that the data has been loaded correctly. Now what we want to do with this data is to combine them together. So to do that, I will be using another Pandas function, just called pd concat. And then what I need to do, I will have 2 parts to this function. I want to open a square bracket, and in that square bracket, I want to list all the variable names that I want to combine together. So it will be data1, data2, data2, and then data3. One thing to know that every time you see a square bracket, it means that we're dealing with a list of variables. Okay, so those are the variables that I want to combine. Those will be all the data that I want to combine together. And what I also want to add is another part of the function, which is ignore index. What that ignore index part of the function, make sure that when you combine those 3 files together, you reset the index column. So all the numbers in the index column starts from 0, and then they're being incrementally counted towards the last row. So you don't have any duplicates, and you have a full continuity in the numbers. Okay, so if I hit Shift and Enter now, you'll see that my first 5 rows start from 0 here in my index column, and then the last 5 are basically ends with, and then my last 5 numbers end with 299, which, because we started from 0, means there's 300 rows in this data set. Okay, so this concat function, which stands for concatenate, combine my 3 files together, and then all we have to do, we just want to assign it to a new variable called data comp. Okay, and then again, we'll just hit Shift and Enter to execute this command. Okay, and then we could again inspect that variable just to make sure that the data of content has been allocated correctly. We can use head. You can also use tail function for that. So if you use tail, instead of showing you first five rows of the data, it will show you the last 5 rows of the data. And if I actually insert a number inside of those parentheses, you will see that it will display, if I say 10, it will display the last 10 rows. Right. Now we want to validate that those 3 files have been combined together. The simplest way to validate whether those data files have been combined correctly is to check the number of rows from each individual data set, and then see if their sum equal to the number of rows from the data combined file. In order for us to display the number of rows, we want to use a shape function. So let's just type in data1 shape and then execute it with Shift and Enter. Okay, and what you'll see here is 2 numbers and closing parentheses. The first number, 100, that stands for the number of rows in the data set, and the number 2, that's the number of columns, ignoring the index column that we have in the data set. So we see above that the number of columns is 2, we have a full name and birthday, and then this data1 file had 100 rows. Okay. In order for me to only display the number of rows, what I need to do, I need to again type data1 shape. That 0 means that I want to just access the first element, so that 100 of my function here. Okay, so if I hit again Shift, all right, that will give me 100. And now if I go back to that box and just simply say, okay, well, take this number, so data1 shape 0, and then add to it data2, and then add to it data3, and then if I hit Shift and Enter, my output value is 300. Okay, so what it says is that if I sum up all the rows numbers from those individual files, I will get a sum of 300. So now what we want to do, we want to apply the shape function to data comp, so the combined file. Again, 0 here, hit Enter, 300. Okay, so those 2 numbers equal. So this is my kind of a simple check to make sure that those 3 files have been combined correctly, at least again, just from looking at the row numbers. Okay, now we want to add another column to our data set. Data set, or rather a data frame. Data frame is a technical term for what we call a table or data set in Pandas. Okay, so every time you see a data frame, think of it as a table or spreadsheet in Excel with your row numbers, your columns, and your column headers. Okay, so in order for me to add a new column, all I have to do is type in the name of our data frame. And then in the square brackets, let's say test, okay? And then let's say hello, okay? And then shift and enter. So if I type in datacom head, you will see that I added a column called test, which is filled with values hello. Okay, I can also create a new columns based on the existing column in the data frame. So to do that, I will type in data comp, open square bracket, and then I will open another square bracket because I will be listing more than one column in here. Okay. Okay. So what I'm saying here is, okay, I will be adding two columns called last name and first name. And this will equal to data comp, okay, full name, right? So I'm saying, okay, well, take the data comp full name column, then add str after that. That str means that I will be dealing with a string, so with a text values that will be coming from this column. And then I will add split. Okay, so that's the function that deals with splitting the values from the column. And then open bracket, right? And then my first argument here would be comma, and close is in inverted commas. So that tells me that my separator between those two values that I want to split is a comma. And then after that, I want to add expand equals true. That expand is responsible for creating those two additional columns. So if it shift and enter, it will execute the command. And then again, what I want to do, I want to inspect my new data frame. And you will see that to the right, I have two columns, last name and first name. Okay, now we want to delete one of the columns. So in order to delete the column, I will use a drop function. So I will type in data comp drop open bracket, and I will type in columns equal open square bracket, and I'll put the name test. Okay, so what I'm saying here is that I want to take the data comp data frame, then from that data frame, I want to drop columns called test. So we're almost there, and then all I need to add here is in place equals true. That in place part of the function tells Python to override that data comp variable. And then if I inspect this table, you'll see that the test column is gone. So now I want to do two things. First of all, you will notice that the values in the birthday column consist of a date, which is a date, month, name, and the year number. So I want to split those values into three corresponding columns. And then I want to show you how to use a VLOOKUP equivalent in Python. Okay, so first of all, I want to use our split function to create those three columns. So I'll type in my split function here, and those columns will be based on the values in my birth date column. And the way I will derive those values is by taking the value from the birth date and then using the dash as my separator between those three values. Okay, so if I hit Shift and Enter, and then if I type in datacom head, you will see that to my right, I have three new columns: day number with the number of the day, month name with the name of my month, and then year number. Okay. Now what we want to do, we want to take that month name and we want to translate the name or the abbreviation of the name of the month to its numerical equivalent. Now, if this was Excel, one way of doing that would be to use a VLOOKUP. So you'll create a table, maybe on a separate spreadsheet with two columns. One column will be month name, and then the other column will be the numerical equivalent. And then you will just go to your main table over here, and then type in a VLOOKUP, use the value from the month name as your lookup value, then the table that you just created with those two columns as your table array, and then you would use index column 2 to get the relevant value. Now in Python, we have a function called map, which has a similar purpose. So first of all, what I will do, I will create a table, which in Python is a dictionary with the month names and the numerical equivalents. I will paste this table below here, but you can also just type it in. And then you'll see that all the those values, those pairs of values, are enclosed in the curly bracket. That curly bracket indicates that we didn't here with dictionary. For this purpose, think of a dictionary as a reference table. Okay, so I will hit Shift and Enter. So this is our reference table. And now, if I want to create another column called month number, all I have to do is type in data comp month number equal to data comp month name, and that will be followed by my map function, open parenthesis, and in this open parenthesis, I would just type in the name of my reference table in here, or my dictionary variable, which in this case is the month lookup. Well, let's hit Shift and Enter. And then again, inspect the first 5 rows. And then you will see that I have another column called month number, which has a numerical equivalent of the value in month name. Right, so we're almost done with this tutorial. The last step is to export our data file. To do that, I will need to import a CSV module. And with this module, you can easily export your data frame. So to do that, I will type in data comp to CSV, open bracket, and there are just 3 things I need to do here. First of all, I need to specify the name of my export file. To do that, I will just paste in the path name of the directory when I hold my files. And then here you'll see that I added the file name. That will be followed by my sep comment. And then I'll put a semicolon here. So basically what I'm saying here is that all my columns in this file should be separated by a semicolon. And then I will add index equals false. This will ensure that there is no index column exported to my file. And now when I hit a Shift and Enter and go to my folder, you will see data combined CSV file, which is the file that I've just exported. Okay. You can also export your data set to a clipboard. So to do that, you just have to type in the name of the variable and then to clipboard and then parentheses. So once I execute this comment, I can go to my notepad, I can go to my Excel sheet or Google sheet, and once I hit paste, so Control V, in my notebook, you'll see that it will just paste all the values into it. And then lastly, you can also export your data to Excel. To do that, You can just take that comment to CSV, then replace to CSV part with to Excel, and then you can actually take out that SEP argument, replace extension with Excel extension, maybe call it Excel at the end, hit Shift and Enter. And then you will see that in a few seconds, if I go back to my folder here, I will see my data combine spreadsheet. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any questions about this lesson or you'd like to discuss any of your data requirements, just head to my website, www.challengejp.com, where you can schedule a free consultation. Also, if you'd like to download any of the files that we discussed today, or you'd like to get links to websites that can enrich your Python knowledge even further, head to the blog link, which you will find in the description of this video. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you soon.